Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer and Leo King here for Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology forecast for the week of November 25th through December the 1st of 2020. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there and happy holiday season. And because it's the holiday season, we are doing an awesome Black Friday through Cyber Monday, 20% off on all of highvibe.tv, and we are doing parts of the school. So go to highvibe.tv. It has to be on the website, though. This won't work on the apps because Apple and Google and Roku and all that, they don't take discount codes. So go to highvibe.tv if you want to be a member, and you get 20% off, whether it's on your monthly, your 3-month, or your 6-month subscription. And then we are adding by the time you get to Friday on, I'm so confused from Cyber Monday to Black Friday. Just, either of those days you're going to be able to see for the school, which is High Vibe TV School, or just go to highvibe.tv and then just click on the school. So pretty awesome deal that we got going on here with everything that we got on highvibe.tv and our special exclusive paid videos, all those, especially, the one I just did, Climax 2020, you can get also Battle of the Gods, which we're still in right now. And there's a lot of content on there, and there's so many awesome new shows and so many awesome talent on highvibe.tv. And I just want to say, from everyone at highvibe.tv, and especially from my heart that's been doing this for so long to get it all here, I just wanted to say I'm truly grateful for you, for everybody on my YouTube, for everybody that watches this on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you come from. I just want to say I'm so grateful coming into the 9th year here for following this. It blows my mind. And if you've never watched this show before, of course, this is an exclusive show on highvibe.tv. It is broadcasted live, so we do this live on highvibe.tv on the website or on our apps at the High Vibe TV studios. But if you're watching this on YouTube, it is premiered always on Thursday mornings. You get most of the show, the half part of the show, when I go deep into the charts and you actually see the charts or see it, it goes to audio version. So if you want to be able to watch this show in its full form and to watch it live and be part of the chat and so forth like that, when it's actually live, you just have to become a member of highvibe.tv, and truly appreciate it. And it's been the most grateful thing of 2020 for me has been highvibe.tv and everybody that supports it. So truly appreciate it. And if you never watched a show before, this is where I'm going to channel the astrology to you for the week, and then I'm going to go deep into the charts, which are brought to you by AstroGold. It's on all Mac devices or Android, or if you're on PC, check out Solar Fire. And I just want to be grateful for them as well, Esoteric Technologies. So much amazing things with AstroGold this year that came out with all the updates that just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And Stephanie over there and the team over there just are amazing people. And if, people always ask me all the time, like, wow, what kind of chart's that? Or how do you run those charts or whatever? I don't get paid by AstroGold. I don't ask for nothing. I promote them for free. And especially in the astrology community, I'm all about just spreading the love, giving people credit where credit's due, and where we're at right now with astrology and the beautiful energy of astrology and the amazing technology and what we're starting to see, especially with just adding so much powerful information in the power of your hand on your phone, or especially if you have a Mac. I'm telling you, that AstroGold on Mac is just the most amazing astrology program you'll ever use in your life. Definitely, it's worth to check it out. I don't know if they're doing any sales or anything like that, but just go search them up. They're amazing people, and I just want to say thank you to them. And they're amazing astrologers, and they're amazing people there. And there's amazing astrologers that also give input, and they listen, and they do so much great work. So I just want to, I think most of the astrology community that are professional astrologers know, what's up over there. So here we are. This is quite a time, of course. It might feel very weird. We are in a Neptune station that will turn direct, which is coming this weekend on Saturday. And this is quite weird because it does bring us to a very deep check in our soul of whether we're crazy or not crazy. And it taps into our dreams, our sensitivities. But I really want to say this. The biggest thing about this Neptune direct that makes this one different than anyone we've ever seen in our lives is, one, it's of course still in Pisces, its home sign. So it's dignified here, it's strong, it's potent, and it has that dreamlike quality. It also has that where we see mental health, or we see, us kind of lose a grip of reality. And we can also, be blinded, but we can also see psychically more stronger than ever. But with the square to the North Node in Gemini and to the South Node in Sag, this brings up an event that I actually went through. I was born with these nodes here. I had Neptune when it was at 5 degrees of Pisces back in 2012, 2013, into 2014. I had Neptune score my nodes. And I went through massive anxiety and panic attacks for those years while I was channeling the horoscopes. The psychic energy was so good, yet at the same time, having to reprogram my own belief systems and my thoughts and how my brain works and understanding how to stay gripped in reality was very difficult. And it was a challenge in my life, but at the same time, I couldn't be more grateful for going through that evolution in my soul. And so I'm just giving an example of somebody who actually has lived through this, which would be me, but we're actually seeing it in the transits right now. And so this is something that it might feel like, okay, you're seeing things and you know they're going to happen. And are you crazy? There's beautiful things that Neptune represents of compassion and even love and dreams in the storybook, especially that we're in Sagittarius season. But we're in eclipse season too, which makes things more potent, more sensitive. And so I want to say that there are things that are true, that you can feel, that you know, that you can tap behind and you can see. There is a loneliness too if you just keep seeing it, but you don't actually get to see it in your reality. And so I just want to remind you that Neptune coming direct here with the nodes is definitely going to give you the answers. And this is where you're going to have to listen. There's going to be signs that are going to feel like they're everywhere. And then there's going to be things that maybe you believed in that you were so hyped up in and they're not going to show up. So it could feel like, a horrible moment if you believed in something so much and it doesn't go the way that you did, but you had that inkling, inside, you had that hunch that was like, yeah, no, that's not really going to happen, but I'm going to keep, kind of being obsessed in the weird escapism of still believing. So this is going to be a very important time for people to really go discernment and making it about not already saying fully about everything, while at the same time there are things that you do know fully that come from love or compassion, and especially when they come from places where spirit shows significant signs. And that's one thing as an astrologer and a psychic that, I've had to learn throughout my whole career of doing this, and it's one thing that it does take a lot of time and it does take a lot of responsibility in how you conduct yourself as a spiritual person, how you conduct yourself as a human being, and making sure that you're in the environment, that you're around energy that really, truly holds the responsibility of using that awareness. It is not something to take lightly. It required me to get off of marijuana. It required me to then, it was like watching the pieces fall out of my life that were not serving me. I wouldn't be able to do all this right now if I was lost in a lot of the escapism roles that I play. And even though I'm a sun in the 12th house, and even though I've got massive yods, one is pointed directly at my Neptune at 29 Sag. I've got Neptune that does another yod to my moon, and I have my moon, which is quincunx Neptune, and I have my sun quincunx Neptune, and I have Pluto sextile Neptune. I have a lot. My Neptune's the most aspected planet in my chart, and I'm on the 12th. So Neptune's my planet in many ways, even though it's not my ruler, but I understand it very well. And I can tell you that even in today's world, for myself and for all of us, we're all seeing on the spiritual evolution that we're at a time in our lives where things that do not serve us and do not serve our soul and are not aligned with our souls, and especially with all this Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, that are truly not part of the plan that Spirit has for us. So we know what it feels like. And if it doesn't feel like as it resonates with us, if we're trying to mystify something that doesn't have that magic there, it's not going to work. And especially with these eclipses. But before we get to those eclipses, we have Venus in Scorpio that's opposing Uranus as we're coming into this weekend. And I know everybody's going to be at Thanksgiving and they're going to be stuffing their turkeys with Uranus, or Venus would be stuffing Uranus into that turkey. But it's like there's this beautiful element to this, because Uranus and Taurus is trying to remind Venus, you want to attract a lot of great things in your life and you want them and you want to hold on. if you're going to bring that in, it's like, does it connect to the quality? Does it connect to the value? That'd be like me. I mean, it's kind of funny. I dressed a lot like a Venus and Scorpio opposed Uranus and Taurus moment, right? Like I was like, it's the holidays. I'm going to wear my really bougie Hugo Boss, shit. And then I'm like, it's a little Uranian tonight, of course, as I'm getting ready. We all are for Venus to oppose Uranus here. I'm like, of course I'll wear the headband tonight. Why not? And then why don't I throw on this? Or why don't I, there's the edge and the quality. It's the pirate that has to dress up to go to a dinner and can't show up drunk. You know what I mean? Like Jack Sparrow has got to finally kind of like get it together if he wants to get another boat or get another something, and especially with Neptune retrograding and stopping and stationing and then turning direct, while this event is happening, this is all of us having to show up for our values, the relationships, and more importantly, that self-worth inside. We have to transform to get what we want in our lives, to have the deep feelings, to have that feeling that makes us feel special and excited. I was born with Venus trine Uranus, so this is an opposition. So, it's like there's something about life where I just am excited about things that feel that are the best things. I love seeing people when they're excited. I love seeing the forward advancement of technology or things that make me feel better. And we all are having to move forward in new ways in our values, the kind of partners we connect with, and making sure that it's all in alignment with that spiritual truth and that dream. And when you mix that in with these eclipses, oh man, well, this week at least, this is the lunar eclipse on Monday that's going to happen at 1:29 a.m. Pacific time in Gemini at 8 degrees, with the sun at Sag at 8 degrees, with the south and the north node, of course, south node being in Sag and north node being in Gemini. What I think is very interesting is we're going to see this Venus opposed Uranus. And there's an excitement that's building, but there's also going to be things that are being told for us to break away from. They might not even be physical because of the fact that this is very Neptunian as the station is happening in between. So having Venus oppose Uranus and then a Neptune station go retrograde or retrograde to direct, right? And then a lunar eclipse, the midpoint of those transits is this Neptune station. And I think that this is one of those things where spiritually for you, what is not working for you? What patterns are not working for you anymore? This is going to be a big, big, beautiful thing. There's going to be huge payoffs for people that are really stepping forward. And I know it's sensitive. And, it's really weird, too, because this deals with the media. We're dealing with Gemini lunar eclipse. We're dealing with Sag, south node with the sun. And we're dealing with Neptune stationing the planet that rules the media. And so the media, I don't want to be a basher of it at this moment. I'm here to tell you, though, to have discernment of what media, does it feel like it's not giving you everything, that it's not coming from a very hermetic space and willing to look at all sides. And I think that that's very important right now, because with the sun and Sag, with the south node, what the ultimate dumping that's happening right now, because the south node, I look at it as the back of the dump truck. And I know and a lot of people look at the south node as this beautiful, it's a comfortable place. It's comfortable, especially to be hopeful about things, but there's a lot of facts out there that show otherwise. So it's like, this is a very important time for you to spiritually align with truth and not hopefulness without looking at truth. It's a good to be hopeful. And I'm not trying to say not be hopeful, but being naive is different. And being naive is the fool. And I would call it like the fool card reversed in tarot. This is not a time to be that fool card reversed, or being that fool card, right? That's just la-di-da-di-da, and there's a cliff there and the cocktail in the hand and a dog that's willing to jump off and just fall off the cliff. This is a time for you to go, where is the data and the information that is not from some sort of source that you don't do your own? Because you got to see that there's a combo with the nodes, that this is about a loop cycle. And it's about a loop cycle of like, it's good to get data, but it's good to research that data and then come back and find your own data and do the things where you're curious about. And when it comes to the media, you should feel that it's giving you curiosity. There's something that makes you feel like, yeah, I still need to figure more out. But when everybody says that this is end all be all and it's wrapped up in life and there's nothing here to look at anymore, or this is going to just be the way that things are, no. These are false idols, false gurus. We are dealing with a lunar eclipse on a very major aspect. The major aspect is not only what I've already discussed, is Neptune stationing direct, or even Venus in its detriment in opposition to Uranus and Taurus in its fall. But the big one of all of it to me is the fact that we are in a very powerful position where this lunar eclipse is even closer than the one we had in 2012 in November of I think it was November 28th of 2012, to Antares, where the sun will be, the great red giant, 500 times the size of our sun, and Aldebaran. Like, this is important because this is the Eye of Horus, because it sits up in Taurus siderically, right? So if you're inside real astrology and you understand the way that astrology works, or the cosmos, this is the Eye of Horus. And below that, Antares, this is this great red giant, right? And this is where the problem is. Archangel Michael also rules this area up in Gemini. And so the truth is everything right now that fights against the evil. Now, Aldebaran, it is that representative. I always say it's the gatekeeper to the Pleiades, right? And I know people are always like, Palladian, and they want me to say every term the exact way. I'm California, yo. And I just want to tell you that this is a moment where there's a gateway here, and there's a reminder that this lunar eclipse is bringing up about truth and about how Archangel Michael has his foot on Lucifer and keeps that dark at bay. But with Antares down there, it is the great red giant. It's a war machine. It's a powerful energy, a sacral energy. And so we have to realize that we have powers within us that are strong and extremely powerful, with the sun being here in Sag and with this connection to Antares. Yet this moon that's with the North Node, but more importantly with Aldebaran here, and while Neptune has come direct, and we've had Venus oppose Uranus, that there's going to be a new story. And it's the story where you were awake in that third eye that you could see. Why do you think I've been wearing a bandana for weeks? Because I'm protecting my third eye. There is a lot of attacks out there from the dark that are affecting people's third eyes and trying to change their third eyes, and you got to keep that at bay. Even Archangel Michael carries a sword with him. And I think that this is a very powerful eclipse, even though, no, it's not the most powerful, mathematically speaking, eclipses you'll ever see. But there is a notion to this one that is triggering, because we have been in the weirdest eclipse cycles. And I only say that because, we had the North and South Node, right? And Cancer and Capricorn through 2019. And it was all the way up until May of this year. But we had a solar eclipse that was on the solstice, and it was in Cancer, and that was the last one. So we haven't seen a Gemini eclipse yet since you go back to 2012. And you really start to look at how powerful the alignments are about 2012, and how this is what the Mayans were talking about and this is 8 years coming up to December 21st, which we're seeing Saturn and Jupiter conjunct in Aquarius. But this is where you got to get your mind straight. This is where you got to have the higher mind, the true Eye of Horus. This is the only way for you to really understand, because you have to realize that all the stars that hang out, especially if we're going to use tropical up here in Gemini, this is where even Hermes comes from. His mother's up there. It's like Gemini rules Mercury. And it was Saturn and Pluto that conjuncted on January 12th, conjunct Mercury. It is Mercury that is finishing a quincunx to the North Node here, as Mercury is still trying to get out of Scorpio, out of a retrograde. And I talked very deeply last week about relationships and the changes in the 37 plus years that have ended since the last Saturn Pluto met in 83. But you can go back to, of course, when we saw Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto, like we're seeing now in Libra at the very beginning of the 80s. So that all ended with the Mercury retrograde. That all ended with the Venus retrogrades. I showed you all last week about Venus at 0 degree of Scorpio. And we have turned a new page. And now Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter and Capricorn are very tight. And we are in this new story, and it can be scary. But we have to have our mind straight. We have to understand our ancient understandings. We have to understand that the Mayans, of course, were right. And they were about understanding of where you're at in the cosmos, but where you're at in the galaxy, where we're at in a new time, literally, and also how to access new points in time. I think that it's very important while Mars has finally started to move forward as it went direct at, of course, 15 degrees of Aries, and we're seeing it come to 16 degrees. And as Mars sets the warrior within, the courage within, and we're seeing really interesting aspects with this lunar eclipse, which I'll show you in the charts, of course, but sure, you could add the Chiron element to things in this lunar eclipse. There is something about, we're not going to just continue to hold on to things that our egos aren't making us happy holding on to it. We're not going to be laughed at anymore for who we are as an individual. We're going to celebrate who we are, that we hold space, that we heal ourselves and we heal others by being emboldened and powerful and not being afraid to be our individualized self. That's what attracts what we want in our life. That's what everything comes to the plate in life for us of truth. And it's that truth that will win no matter what in life, no matter what the scenario is. And these eclipses are going to change the whole game. So if you think that you understand fully and you're going to sit in Sag and you're going to sit in South Node and you're going to think that you already think you know how the story is going to go, you don't. This is going to twist things crazy. I remember when the eclipses happened in 2012, everything changed in my life. Everybody around me's life, and especially the spiritual community, shifted extremely. Life shifted. And I think that we need to remember that. And you need to even remember what it was like to change from. Go back to November of 2012, a month before coming into December 21st of 2012. That was a crazy transformational moment for everybody in their lives. And coming into 2013. And so this is one of those things where the stories are going to change dramatically and be the start of that. As we have a solar eclipse that comes 2 weeks after this, which will be, of course, at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, while Mercury will be in Sag, conjunct that South Node. There's going to be a lot going on then. And I just want to tell people that it's very important in this moment for you to try and find some sort of calm. I'm not going to lie. When you mix a lunar eclipse in Gemini with a sun in Sag, it's mutable energy, and it's going to start to get weird, and it's all dealing with the higher and the lower mind, and you're dealing with a Neptune station square the nodes in Gemini and Sag, right? So this is, whenever you mix the mind and you mix Neptune, whoo! You don't need to take no psychedelic. It already is a psychedelic experience, what we're going through right now. And these eclipses bring up psychedelic. I'll never forget the eclipses of, especially the spring of 2012, when we came into that cycle. And then when we came into the one that was in November, I remember those, they felt psychedelic. It felt like I couldn't believe, right? I kept saying, I can't believe this is happening. Is this all really happening? And it was more in that personal life. That was a North Node in Sag, though. This is now a North Node in Gemini. So, yes, you're going to be like, I can't believe this is happening, but it's going to be quite opposite. Like, no, this makes fucking sense for sure. This really does make sense. This really does excite me. Whereas it was more like, what's going to happen next? That look in the eyes of, I don't know. We all know what that look looks like. We've been seeing it on television for months. And that's just truth. And that's what scares a lot of people, and I understand. Especially as somebody who likes information and likes to know at least, I'd rather know where somebody's at and know somebody can look me in the eye and look at the camera in the eye and deliver a message clearly instead of looking around like, I don't know. Where is that in my brain? Where is that in my soul? Are they connected? This is your big test of whether you're spiritually connected and that you understand what's going on. And that you're able to not succumb and lose yourself as a soul to the mission of the ultimate work that this light work is. This is a reminder of Horus, the sun god of Egypt. But the eye of Horus, though, the eye of Horus, more importantly, the all-seeing eye, the true all-seeing eye. No, not the one that you just get lost in Illuminati talks and stuff like that, but the one that is able to see clearly through the path of the divine. And this is whether or not you are connected to that and you're basing your life decisions on that. And I'm telling you that there are sweet, sweet waters and sweet, sweet goods for you if you are. But without that deep connection and without that knowing, without being able to see through the clutter, the noise, the misinformation, especially the misinformation, there's a lot of misinformation that's saying it's misinformation when really it's trying to dodge you away. And you have to pay attention to that because that's the trickster, especially more of the trickster of the Sagittarian style South Node, which is like, it rules teachers, it rules professors, it rules people of the like kind of idealistic energies. It rules this whole like, oh, holier than now energy, or that this person knows more than I know. Nobody knows more than you know. You know things that I bet you people who say they know everything, they don't know about that you know. Nobody's more knowledgeable than another person. And this is where it's important for us as a collective to start to realize that and to start to realize that especially within ourselves, it's our voice internally, individually that we're responsible for. It's our own minds that we're responsible for. It's our own responsibility to calculate our own lives from our own space. And however we want to calculate it, if we use Jesus, if we use the planets, if we use tea leaves, if we use our pets, if we use signs that come from the universe of, I don't know, the way that your pee splashes in the water, it doesn't matter. It's your life and it's your powerful greatness. And there are forces that we can't see that have our back. And that's what this is about. Because this Neptune station is going to reveal what has been fake and what truly is real. It is going to make you realize, like when I was in panic disorder and I had anxiety disorder and I got to agoraphobia when Neptune scored my nose, with Chiron, by the way. It was not fun. At least Chiron's, chilling with the nose, not too bad. But I just want to say that it was a mind blow that I believed that I had AIDS, that I had cancer. That I could tell you a list of things I thought I believed that I really was happening. That I started to think that maybe I had lymphoma or I had lupus. I could name you everything I actually believed I thought it was from just a feeling I thought inside. But it was so draconian in the sense of it was trapping me and it just did not feel like it came from God. And it was whenever I was in my room and I would cry and I'd listen to a song that would bring me to that place of that ethereal knowing that God and the ultimate highest of highs had my back. And including Archangel Michael, I went and bought an Archangel Michael, the biggest one I could find. Everybody that knows me knows that I probably have the biggest Archangel Michael freaking statue around. And I put it on my desk. Like, I make room for that motherfucker on my desk, you know what I mean? Like, because it was Archangel Michael that always reminded me, and I would look at that statue, and it would remind me that no matter what happens in life, that that God, that the higher ups, the angels, your guides, always have the dark at bay, and the dark will do everything it can to squander up from the ground, to squander up from the soils, to squander up from the darkest places ever, like a cockroach coming out of your turkey's ass, and try and live and try and define as that know that this is the truth, or this is the way it's going to be. And no, it's not. The information of what we've been told about this world at this point, just where we're at astrologically, since we've never seen Neptune and Pisces square the nodes in Gemini and Sag like this, while we're in a Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn, while the eclipses are happening with Neptune here, while we're also at the same time Mars in its home sign that just finished a retrograde in its home sign the whole time. Remember the last one in 88 went back into Pisces. Last time we saw Mars direct after a retrograde in Aries was 1941. So when you start adding all these things together, or Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto is 1284, or I can just rap forever on this stuff. Or Jupiter, Saturn that are meeting in Aquarius in an air sign and starting the air sign cycle for Jupiter, Saturn for hundreds of years. Or even if you know, I'm going to throw out somebody maybe you haven't heard of, but Bill Meridian, I have one of his eclipse books. And this eclipse cycle, I think it's from 2015 or 14 to 2020. I think it's a 9-year cycle, so it ends in like 20. We're halfway through, so maybe it's 2016 or 17 through 2025, something like that. Or maybe it's like it's a 12 or 14 year energy. Anyway, we're in a very interesting eclipse cycle. By the time we hit 2022 into 2023, we hit that midpoint part where it's the most extreme. And that's also when Pluto is going to be coming to Aquarius, and we're going to see the eclipse cycle that's coming there. So I just want to remind you all that these eclipses are going to be a big deal. It's going to be very dramatic, but a lot of this is part and parcel to the fact that Neptune is squaring the nodes. And last time we saw Neptune with a nodal aspect in a actual major one would have been 4 exact years ago when Neptune and the South Node met in Pisces, which there it was, like reality was different than what the media said, right? And there's a square to that right now, and that's being worked out through this next month. And I care very deeply about people and just delivering truth to them, because it's not about taking sides right now. But it is about us starting to ask the deeper questions in life. When Neptune comes direct, like, what has God been leading you towards that you know is true? And there's parts of it that might not be true, right? That you just go, okay, yeah, that's not true. I'm going to let go of that one. But there is things that are. And with Mercury that finished its retrograde, and it went through Scorpio, went back to Libra, and covered the exact zone of the Venus retrograde of 2018 of October, November. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And now that Venus is crossing, and now with Venus opposing Uranus, and Venus, once it hits 10 degrees, which we're going to see during this eclipse cycle, I'm here to tell you that your buried treasure that you came here in this destined life for, to bring you happiness, to bring you wholeness, and to bring you that feeling of trust and connectiveness, it's here, but it's in your environment. You already have seen it. You already know it. You already know it within yourself. And Spirit has been guiding you and giving you the signs and going into that direction. And so this is going to be a very important time for you to realize that. And realize that the ultimate blessing, ironically, on this Thanksgiving, which is very weird for me, especially with my family that came on the Mayflower, and I think it's wonderful that the ceremonies that are going down for this, I don't even want to say ceremony, I think they're calling it a collaboration of bringing the Native Americans together and the people that came on the Mayflower to come together. And, you know, it was interesting that to see the actual media, because I'm not here to bash the media, because actually they did some really good things this week. They corrected a lot of the stories. You know, a lot of people have been attacking me and saying because I'm part of the Mayflower, that I'm part of the reason why colonialism and all this stuff is just some bad thing. You know, people don't realize that at that time that the tribes that were in what we call, of course, that area by Plymouth, and that there were Europeans that had shown up before that had caused 90% of the tribe to have their own pandemic energy. And Thanksgiving was a very small amount of tribe people left and a very small amount of people on boats that found a way to come together. And it's a story of where it's divine, right? Like, how did that happen? And it was religious freedom coming on the Mayflower to escape out of being in tyranny for what you have to believe and how you have to practice your religion. And it was another side that had just gone through losing 90% of its people, but also realizing it's got to still move on. And it was a beautiful story I just watched recently of a Native American whose line goes all the way 400 years, and that their biggest blessing on this Thanksgiving is that they kept their tribe going 400 years later, that the line still goes on. And you can look at that from both sides, right? But it was two sides that came together, and it was actually such a beautiful thing, because my family has known this history a long time, and I have books on it that not are just like books, but actually like writings, family treasures of mine that come from that. And I appreciate those that sent out a lot of cool messages, and like especially I reposted some stories about, you know, my family history and stuff from the past, and they retweeted it and put it all out there. Because, you know, I didn't come out and say that this is a time for me to celebrate that and my family coming this way. And actually, that's literally how I'm here today, and the reason why I do this job. It's in my bloodline. It's in my Leo rising on Regulus. Like, it's my ancestors for real. And being the first reverends in America, but it was a beautiful moment. And actually, it was one of my 13th or my 12th great grandfather who, after Thanksgiving, took the letter and described what Thanksgiving was and brought it back to England in my Cushman line. So it actually affects me very deeply, this gratefulness. But what I'm trying to say from using that story, and to remind ourselves that we're all in a place where God is aligning two sides of your life that might feel different, but it might feel so karmically together to bring you something to feel like there's a blessing there. That there's a coming together with Uranus and Venus. These are planets that deal with people. They're planets that deal with bonding. And they do it in unique ways. And it might feel a little foreign too. It might feel like it comes in foreign, but it's exciting. But it also is like, if it doesn't bond, then it's okay to not try to force yourself to have I'm going to use the analogy of having that Thanksgiving dinner with somebody you don't want to, right? Like, it's like, this is not a time to force things. It will just all fall into place. And truth will fall into place when you surrender to knowing that the greatest blessing we have is that divine. That greatest blessing we have is when we have our eye of Horus, our third eye, our trust, and knowing in a divine eye that sees through things and doesn't need validation from these corporate, like, huge networks that just don't care about, don't even talk about that stuff. Like, that's what you're going to have to learn to get through this. Is that the information that you connect to spirit with, that you look at the planets with, that you look to wherever you look at in your life. I'm all about religious freedom. It's in my genealogy. It's in my history. My family are Quakers after that. And then they came on the Oregon Trail, and my family has done everything they could to escape tyranny, especially religious tyranny. And that's where I find myself today, sitting in front of a camera in a infinite World Wide Web and an app world that is untapped and unknown, because there's no more land to go find. There's no more places for me to go. That my whole ancestor line comes through to you right now in this moment to remind you that you don't have to put yourself through tyranny anymore and through these blocks and fears of what doesn't feel like it's true to you, or it doesn't feel like it's in connection to the true place that you know within yourself through seeing it And that word should, the words of it has to be this way is not true. It's not true. And that's what's so important right now. Look into people's eyes through this week. Take off your rose-colored glasses. Take off your beer goggles and see if people and all things in life right now are coming from that higher divine order or not. If they don't like to speak about it, that's one sign to me always. If you have trouble having to bring that up, then why are you even wasting your time trying to go into an experimental or an all-knowing or even taking that advice from that energy? This is the freedom of Uranus and Taurus that only gives freedom to those that have value through certifying the value themselves, not through others. It's not through a degree that somebody gives you that makes you feel valuable. It's not through the amount of followers that you get on Instagram or something like that. It's about the certification in yourself that gets you to the higher realms. And even though we all want that, we know it never delivers it in the way that we truly want it to come. And it's about finding others that certify themselves too as knowing their value, but don't push that value on you as using it against you, but uplift you because they see the value within you. And there is no judgment on where you're at when it comes to even what a value system is, but just knowing the quality and knowing the value and knowing the ability to manifest and create the uniqueness that you are, that you came down here on this planet. That's what this is about. That's what this is with Mars and Aries. You must find your confidence. You must know your identity, and you must not block yourself from taking the actions necessary. This is the longest we're getting Mars for our lives, folks, in Aries. That is the dignity home. That is the strength. That is the identity. That is the power for you to be who you are. For you to know the value with Uranus there, and with this Sun and Sag to erase and to dump the belief systems, the institutional idea systems, that it's okay to keep some, it's okay to keep this, but this is taking Encyclopedia Britannicas and National Geographics from the 80s and those old books and those old things and putting them in the storage and seeing that maybe later on in life you'll take them because we're in a new world now and we need to take new information, and we need to take information from the divine source now. And it's about certifying that information on your own. The same way that the Founding Fathers certified a Declaration of Independence on their own. They didn't wait for somebody else to do that for them. They did it themselves. And this is a part where you have to do that within yourself and stop blocking yourself from your greatest fears of stepping into your truth and knowing that the divine has your back hardcore. Especially when you see a lunar eclipse that's hitting these spots. That's hitting the ultimate battle that they talk about, ironically, in the media, or we've seen in politics, this dark and light. It is the battle that is between Antares and Aldebaran. It is the battle between a force that consolidates, it creates, if you understand in sidereal astrology, you understand that Antares is in Scorpio, and it forms that red giant, and it's just one big formation. That's why Uranus is in exaltation in Scorpio, because when all people come together as one force, it's powerful. But when we're all broken apart, especially in Taurus, right? Because we get all weird about values, or we don't feel like some people are certifying themselves and their value of themselves. It's hard to come together. But be a leader by helping people maybe. You can't certify somebody in their value for them, but you can definitely help them along with Uranus there. You could definitely help them see the beauty and help them see the support and help them see the value that they are as a human being. But they have to certify themselves. And it's so important because that's what Mars demands. And with Chiron there, it's hard too. It's almost like my signature's a little funny. Like why is John Hancock's signature on the Declaration of Independence so powerful? Because it was a very, big signature that was easy to read. And it was like, I'm sure when they were like lighting up, everybody was kind of like, oh no, John Hancock's like, okay, I'm putting this thing right here. Bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean? Even though there's a lot of other people on that list that did a lot of bigger things than John Hancock did, let me tell you that. Maybe because he had his hand on his cock. I don't know. But it's like that's where this is a very interesting time that you certify your own self. You certify your own greatness. And I can tell you and just give you some inspiration as myself, nobody told me to be the Leo King. There was no job application for that. There was nobody that told me to take pictures the way I did and how to create the brand and how to create the logo and how to do all that stuff. I certified that in my damn self. I certified that character that you watch every day, that you see on these for coming up on 9 years as we approach the end of this year for me. That I can tell you of doing it all the time and every day. I can tell you that I had to certify myself. And I remember the first horoscope I did when I was saying I was, welcome to your inspirational astrology horoscope. I'm your astrologer, David Palmer, here to illuminate the collective consciousness, and switching it to I'm David Palmer, the Leo King, and adding that in there was so, I probably did 3 or 4 retakes, which I'm not a retake person. But I still certified it that day, and I still owned it. I found the chart. I waited months to launch it. I certified even that in myself. And I'm here to tell you that what you're seeing in the world right now is the ultimate test of whether or not from spirit. Don't focus on the dark. Don't focus on what's trying to persuade you from your truth. Don't focus on that. Only focus on the light and focus on the certification of the greatness and the truth that's within yourself. And you don't need to go create a battle about that, because the battle is for you to just certify yourself and own who you are. And by being in that truth, the universe and everything around you ain't gonna mess with you, ain't gonna fuck with you. That's a force to be reckoned with. Anybody who's in their truth and owns it in solidarity. When somebody walks in a room and they know who they are, it's not ego. It's not being too pompous. It's not being too selfish. And it's not being too, oh my God, this person's too bougie. It's that person certifies themselves and loves themselves and enjoys who they are and enjoys the certification. And believe it or not, the divine wants to see that within you. The divine wants you to step up to the plate and say, I am this to bring to the universe, and I certify myself through the power of the divine, and I see through, and I see the vision. And watch when more people do that in their lives in these next couple weeks, and especially this is that trigger spot for people on sensitivities to that with Neptune stationing and going direct. To wake up. And it's not like, people like to say woke, or they like to use the red pill or the blue pill reference. We can use that all day. But the real understanding of becoming awake is the understanding of certifying your soul and understanding where are you not in integrity because you are in escapism from dealing with your true soul energy, where you get distracted, or where you just escape all the time from that intense certification, that intense understanding, especially with Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter here. This is a stamp that lasts the rest of your life. This is where the judge comes to the city clerk and comes to the top and is at the top of the desk and gets to the executive branch or gets to the CEO or gets to wherever, and it's stamped for approval or it's denied. You didn't fill out the form. You didn't fill your name in here. You didn't really tell me why are you so great or why are you so special? And I'm not saying that the universe is out here to just stamp you as a failure. But what I'm trying to say though is that the way that the universe works and the way that all this works is the universe pushes that to the side and goes, well, when they put the title of what they want to be and what they're going to here to do and all that stuff, your angels, your guides in the universe can do that for you. I had to learn that forever, as homeless to walking around aimlessly, hoping that I find the understanding and the mission of my life. Going through businesses that went out of business and going on unemployment. chasing jobs, trying to find myself through outside source instead of inside source, which is the truth of who I was, but it's the truth of the universe that I got that from. And that's what this is. And it's going to be a mind bender to the way that we're going to see this reality shift and bend. We are going to feel like we are shifting into weird timelines. We are going to see things that are unpredictable. We are dealing with Uranus. And we are going to see the moon on Uranus this week when it comes into Taurus. Before this eclipse, and I think it's quite interesting, it's when Venus at the same time is opposing Uranus too. And we also at the same time, when we see Neptune turn direct, you're going to see the moon at 22 degrees of Taurus, exactly where Jupiter and Saturn met in 2000. And so it's very weird to me to see that, because as I'm talking to you on this end of literally November and coming into December, we are almost, let's say we're 4 weeks, but we're a little under 4 weeks away from Jupiter and Saturn of closing a 20-year cycle. And actually, this is like a 20-and-a-half-year cycle, since it was about, I think, May of 22 or 2000 that we saw Jupiter Saturn. So this to me is interesting to see the exact degree that when Neptune comes direct, we are going to see the moon at the exact degree in its exaltation of Taurus right there, at that same spot that Jupiter and Saturn connected at. Ironically enough, 22 is a very weird number that we saw Jupiter-Pluto just finish at 22 Capricorn. And I think that this is a very important time as we're in 2020. You start to see where the Neptune thing can come in. Are these signs? Yes. Or are you numb to synchronicity? Are you numb to the way this all works? Do you still think it's just a fun thing to watch on Instagram? Talk to your friends about, but not apply it in your life? Or are you ready to make the biggest leap of your life and to trust in the light is going to win? The trust that we are actually moving into a better world that we haven't even seen what it looks like yet, because what's been presented to us has all been it's been fake. It's been a facade. And it's going to take some time, but it is. And we are watching a movie that is not the movie that it's going to play. And you can feel that deep in your heart if you listen to the truth. Let's look at the charts. So I put those lunar eclipse exactly in 3D so you can see this connection. So if we look at from the sun's point of view from Earth, you're going to see down there, well, number one, you're going to see there's the Pleiades. Pleiades. I love all the Pleiadians. But I'm just here to tell you that if you really start to see this alignment with the sun and, of course, the Earth, but again, here's this lunar eclipse happening, so bang, right? Full moon. Well, let's look at it from this angle. Is that Antares? Oh, yeah, that is down there. You can see it below. And then when you look in this direction here, bang, there's Aldebaran. There it is. So you can see how the Earth, Sun, and Moon align. I'm giving you the underbelly. And then there it is, exact alignment. This is closer. This is a much closer one than November of 28th of 2012. This is on November 30th. Is within 1 degree, especially for most of us that were born before 2012, right? Wait, it was at 9 degrees on both sides, 947, 948 to be precise. And actually what I did for everybody here is I wanted to remind people a little bit about going into Aldebaran, but I just wanted to, the stellar myth is the vision holder for the starseed mission of Earth, defining what emissaries of light can best accomplish to serve humanity through evolutionary transition. In Down to Earth terms, Aldebaran holds the vision for global leaders and world servers, inspiring the administrative planning of world affairs, specifically for physical logistics and global infrastructure designed to support humanity through evolutionary unfoldment and global change. Prominent ailments with the Aldebaran-Antares axis can express itself in the political and global arena. The visions that many people attune to regarding alternative living centers, educational centers, emergency preparedness programs are parts of the inspiration from the stars' emanations. So this is what we're in. Aldebaran can indicate involvement with physical places and projects supportive of alternative modalities of living. Alternative modalities of living. It inspires business that supports family. Aldebaran inspires us to take the physical action required to manifest our visions. And you must certify yourself. It's family of Michael, and that's bringing in Archangel Michael. It was one of the 4 royal stars, the guardians of the sky of Persia, 5,000 years ago when it marked the vernal equinox. Aldebaran rules 3 inches above the breast in the human body. Gives honor, intelligence, eloquence, steadfast integrity, popularity, courage, ferocity, a tendency to sedation, a responsible position, public honors, and gain of power and wealth through others. But its benefits seldom prove lasting, and there's also danger of violence and sickness. And when you get to the opposite of that, which we'll use dark star astrology here, and which is Antares, right, in Scorpio. Which, of course, when we were born, it was at 947 Sag. Fixed star Antares represents one of the more important 4 archangel stars. But the main thing when you get to that is it's like the equivalent of Mars. This could be because Mars, Antares, shimmers a blazing red color in the sky, just how you can go see the blinking redness of Antares, but you're not going to be able to see it with the sun, right? We can't go see Antares right now, but we can go see Aldebaran. We can go see the light. We can go see the Pleiades actually better than any time of year right now. So I ask you to go take a look at night and start to tap into the higher forces here, that the dark is hidden and the sun is, and if I take you 3-dimensional look, if you really think about this, because from Earth, right, in the day, we're looking at that Aldebaran, or sorry, that Antares, that dark energy. It looks like, but the sun is, remember, blasting that away. It's burning that out. And so the moon is actually helping to be a light that reflects, that reminds us of what to do, where to go. And I think that that's super important for this moment right now. I just want to remind people just one couple last things. It gives great worldly success with Antares. However, the ambition is quite ruthless, and Antares finds it's hard to modulate itself. It also indicates that one could be the cause of their own doing. The natural theme in the star is to generate success by going through a cleansing life and death experience. It can suggest one seeks intensity even when not required. By its mythological symbolism, it indicates extremes, wherever by choice or not. It is driven by high drama, sensation, and extremes. Because of this, may find it hard to fine-tune or be sensitive to life's subtleties. If this brave, fearless spirit is channeled in the right way, when its energy can help move mountains, and Taurus works better in partnership with more laid-back souls who can temper the devil inside. All energies are important in our universe. It's just a question of balance, and Taurus is needed when we get too compliant and accept others' modus operandi too readily. I would just say others' plans for us. The red star shakes us out of our complacency. So both stars shake us up, and both stars bring us to a place of empowerment. And I think that this is about that empowerment itself when we look at these charts. So make sure that you go to highvibe.tv. If you are watching this on YouTube and you want to be a member to watch these charts and all the stuff I'm about to go through right now, and especially for this eclipse stuff, and we are doing that holiday 2020 discount code. Truly appreciate it. And let's see what is going on with the astrology. So here we are. We have made it now to the end of November, and I'm going to use red here. And this sun is trining Chiron as we're coming into this week, Wednesday, into everything. As Chiron here is starting really slow. Chiron's really slow now. Chiron is getting ready to come direct soon. There it is, one minute a day. Barely moving. The sun at 4. We're seeing this healing take place. The moon on Mars, right? This is a big deal. Because at the same token, we saw the sun trine Mars I mean, the sun trine the moon and Mars, but really, it's this energy is what we're going to get. We're not going to get the moon on Mars with a trine exact by the sun. So this is it. And so there's that courage that's coming into this week of, I know what I want. And you can't deny that. You can't still stay on the fence of what you don't know and what you do know. Like you know what you want, and you know what's going to bring the ultimate healing, and something that you're willing to hold and have that payoff that Chiron gives to heal you, even though it seems like it's mortally crazy to do, but it's not crazy because you know in yourself. So this is where you have to be tested this week through these eclipses, through this Neptune direct. Because if you look at Neptune, 18 degrees, man, oh man, look at this. It is stopped. We're talking about one of the biggest planets and the slowest planets. It's doing 6 seconds a day. And I think that it's very important to know that, you know, you're going to have to work out that whole spiritual thing and be like, am I crazy or am I not or whatever? And seeing Venus here at 5 degrees is quite interesting because it makes a sessy quadrant over here to that north node. And at the same time, we see Venus quincunxing Chiron. I think that this is, with the opposition to Uranus coming, it is that moment where it's like, I know where the destiny is lying and I know what is something I'm willing to hold. I'm willing to hold it. If you're like, I don't know if I want to hold it, because that's what Chiron does. Like, I will take Prometheus, I'll take your shit for you. You know, it's like, if you're not willing to be like, I'll take whatever you got going on with all my belief, with all my heart, with all my everything, with all my stimulation, with all my excitement, then what are you doing? It's like, then you're not doing exactly what you really are and who you really are, and you're not knowing who you are, and that's not what to go into or to try to keep to sustain and hold on to. And so I think that was what this Wednesday has been about, is like, there's this feeling of knowing and seeing Mercury now at 21 degrees. We're seeing Mercury this week, I forgot to bring up, it's going to sextile Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And I think that this is an important thing this week. Because if you don't know with all these aspects that you're curious to willing to figure out, at least, like, this is what Mercury and Scorpio needs, right? It's like trying to understand, what am I going to take on? What am I going to invest in? What am I going to receive? Where's my payoff from the investment that I put in? Sometimes it takes a minute. Look at how crypto is doing. Look at how the stock market's doing. And then look at how 25% of the country is on food lines right now. This is very Jupiter-Pluto times, but on another notion, it is a weird test inside about where you put your energy in and what keeps moving about. I used to go walk and recycle all of my soda bottles, cans, water bottles for like, it would be like $10 for $10 at like Trader Joe's, you know what I mean? To get me, it's that was life. But there was a moment when I left that cycle. I dropped that. I didn't want to hold on to that. And I think that these are the things that we have to start to realize, because Venus rules money, and it rules investments, and it rules where you put your energy into, and it rules the kind of relationships you're in. If we invest in a certain person, our money is based upon that energy where that you and that partner is at. It's not easy having to let go in Scorpio Venus. When we move on here to Thursday, things start to really heat up because, of course, this moon's going to be finishing in Aries and pass over Aries, but get Black Moon Lilith back. And it's quite interesting that we're going to see that square from Black Moon Lilith and the moon to Saturn now at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So now Saturn is nearing the edge of the cliff. It's nearing the edge of the end of its transit that has been here since December of 2017. This is going on 3 years, folks. Been a 3-year hike. And right before the hike's over, which will be coming up here in December, right? Right before the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, you're going to have to realize, like, the last part of the hike is always the hardest. But it also is the moment where you can get the trophy. I know, I race, too, for a living. And so it's one of those things where I will be butt-ass tired, and even Craig will tell me, like, yeah, those last laps, you looked like you were going to just barely make it. and hold the lead. But there's something that always comes in when I'm like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna win, and I push that throttle, full throttle, no matter what. And you'd think, oh, that's easy, but no, that's tiring as hell. It's a lot easier to back off on the throttle, and this is where we throttle forward. This is where you see in marathons, you have to push it at the end. And if you're not at that space anymore, and you're already flopping and folding and just being like, I just want this to be over and just like, let's just move on, then do you think Saturn's going to give you a reward, a payoff? Like Saturn is testing at the highest ability what souls are in alignment in their truth. The great mother, Saturn, of the physical realm, she is going, who knows that they got the goods? Who knows that they're here on the mission? Saturn is the commander. He's the captain. And the captain's wondering, who's my first mate with me in destiny? What is the crew that really wants to do this? Because we don't want to go through the next 30 years of this world and be around energy in ourselves or others or any situation that we're just going to be like, are they just going to jump ship? Are they going to give up? Or are they going to be in the corner cramping and being like, I can't do this anymore? And it is interesting on this Thursday, as Venus at 6 degrees is starting that opposition to Uranus on Thanksgiving. This is definitely not going to be a very normal Thanksgiving. The sun at 5, trine Chiron. So there's some healing elements that I think this Thanksgiving can bring for us in gratefulness. But the weirdest part is now the nodes are at 19, and that's within a degree now of Neptune, which has stopped. So Neptune is now, I showed you it was 6 seconds. What is Neptune now? 5 seconds. We were talking about stopped. And a moon square Saturn, moon square Jupiter, it's not going to feel benefic. It's a south node sun. I think people are going to feel like we're all just here to be here. When I was young, my aunt lived in Emerald Bay here in Laguna Beach area, and to get to the beach, it's quite a walk. It's a private beach, though. And you make your own trail and stairs back up to the house. And one thing that I thought was really interesting was every so often there was a bench, but it was a pretty nice bench. It's Emerald Bay that was made. That my uncle, when I was young, his parents, I think, made it in the 60s and stuff, but there was like little benches to take a little break in case you didn't, if you had a long beach day or something, to get back up, because it was a little bit of a hike up. And I remember that as a kid thinking, oh, that's smart. That's what this Thanksgiving is. This Thanksgiving is a moment for you to go, I have a lot that's going to change in my life. I am going to be certifying myself, and I am going to get to the top of this mountain, and I am going to be in my truth, and I am going to receive, and I'm going to have the best parts of my life, no matter what it looks like out there in a projected Neptune weird Oz with Neptune stopped. Are you going to buy it that way? Is that how you're going to buy it? You're going to buy The Wizard of Oz? I was the gatekeeper in the play. I had to wear a weird green vest, and I had to be like, who goes there? That's what we're seeing right now. When you get into The Wizard of Oz and you see the great Oz, he's not that great. Probably should have gotten a midget porn or something. I don't know. But he's not that great. He's actually, I don't like that movie at the end because they try to show that he's got humility. But behind that humility is the darkest thing that anybody could ever do, is be fake and scare people. And I don't like how that movie ends as if like he tries to do a good deed back and get Dorothy back home. But I feel that, are we going to give hall passes in our life for following all this fake energy that we are the ones that choose to believe in that fake. We can't give hall passes to ourselves anymore for accepting ourselves to do that anymore, and get sensitive about it, and lose ourselves and lose touch with our truth, lose touch with where we really sit in ourselves, in our minds. As Mercury is going to be in sextile to Pluto, this is going to be deeper conversations about other things than what do you really talk about at Thanksgiving? Do you really think you're going to be talking about football? I already saw that they were canceled the football game. Like, do you really think you're going to be just sitting there just talking about like what you talked about last Thanksgiving? Do you really think you're going to be playing games or doing the things that you used to do? This is going to be about people starting to be like, man, this has been a hike. And the game's forgotten about because it's the deeper touch. It's the deeper realm that we're all wanting to feel within each other and to talk about and to release and to also reprogram and recertify a new mind and to program our minds to be like, hey, I know and I see things and I'm going with that truth. There's a revealing. And maybe it is this Thanksgiving that the most grateful thing that we're getting is seeing the truth. And Friday is the big day where Venus opposes Uranus. And 7 degrees as well. What's interesting to me about this Venus opposed Uranus is this direct hit happens with the moon that enters Taurus, which grounds things out, and definitely, though, has an exalted moon opposing a detriment Venus. So if we look at the essential dignities here, look at that moon, +4. Let's look at Venus, -2. And so, this is where that element of self-worth, that knowing of advancing your life, of what feels good and what's quality and what's beautiful, this is shifting your whole entire life to a more beautiful place if you are going to transform and allow to receive it in. If you are going to block it and still hold on to the things that you feel are special, that really are making you feel empty, and you're too afraid to make the better, more confident leap by certifying your understanding and knowing of your more valuable self, as Mercury is still in sextile with Pluto. Mercury's starting to get with Jupiter. At the same token, we are at a weird place where Mercury is in quincunx over to Aries. I would say that, instead of us looking at the change as some chaotic event of re-identification, it's the excitement and the power of re-identification in ourselves, and the excitement of going into a new world and leaping into a better physical world, a better understanding, and a full transformation that allows us to receive the greatness we want to feel in life. Or we are damaged goods because we choose to stay in the same situations, we choose to stay in the same value systems, the same environments, the same belief systems, the same energy. This is going to be a courage test. As Neptune is stopped on 18 degrees on that Friday when this happens. Stopped. We're talking about, look at Neptune's speed here now on Friday. Neptune is dead stopped. It's only 3 seconds. And I think that this is a revolutionary day. I just wonder if people are ready for that revolution in themselves to own that. As Neptune stops and looks at the nodes, right? Because when we move to Saturday, this is the exact chart for when Neptune will come direct. Neptune comes direct on November 28th, when we had the last lunar eclipse in this zone. At 4:36 p.m. Pacific. And what is interesting about this is the sun now hits 7 degrees. And Venus already jumps to 9. So Venus comes off Uranus. But Neptune comes direct at 18. So now we need to start to go, well, what's left in retrograde? One planet, Uranus. We've been seeing this for 3 years. As we come into the holidays, everything turns on, but everybody wants to turn off. This is the wake up that I think is the biggest one of our lifetime. And I've said this since Age of Deception, that the time system that we're on and we live our lives by, and when we celebrate certain things and when we do things, is not truth. Because if you really followed how the ancients followed life, and if you follow how the universe is working, the universe has pretty much everything online and saying, go, do things, make the big changes. And here's a world that's telling you to close down. Here's a world that's telling you to just sit around and take off, do holiday. Are you going to do that? Sure. Doesn't mean stop not doing that, but it reminds you inside that there's a lot to do that can change your life right now. And that when Neptune comes direct, it does bring the truth in a different way. It does show you that their dreams are possible. It is a radar. It is the antenna. Looks like an antenna. The antenna is on. Everything else is on. Mars is direct. Mercury's direct. I mean, Venus is direct. I don't know. Just Saturn's direct. Jupiter's direct. Pluto's direct. I don't know how much more as an astrologer you can be like, wow, everything's direct. You need to direct your life now instead of saying, I'm taking myself off the director's chair. That's why I said Thanksgiving's a bit minor break. That's all. One day. Not trying to ride it out for this 4-day, I'm not going to do things. You're going to feel empty. You're going to feel the loneliness of Neptune that feels lonely way out there. That looks out at the universe and has its back to the sun. You will not feel accomplished. You will feel that you're escaping into the nothingness. Or you're going to integrate and bring something beautiful into your life. I brought up earlier when we were channeling in the beginning that the moon at 22 degrees of Taurus, that's aspecting where Jupiter-Pluto, of course, just met in trine, but mainly it was also where Jupiter and Saturn met in Taurus, 22. And this is the last time that we are going to see in this Jupiter-Saturn cycle that's lasted 20 and a half years. We are finally about to see it end in this next cycle. And it's weird that we're seeing, I'm using Neptune as the direct point, as the dreams that you've always had for the last 20 and a half years in your life can all come true by what you choose and how to accept the treasures in your life and do something about them and not be retrograde in your life and not be sitting back in the background, but moving direct and certifying yourself and stepping forward. You're going to see those that are successful that move forward through this time, not sit around and wait. Thanksgiving's an excuse because Neptune stopped. And Venus there, opposing Uranus with the moon, wants to feel good. But look deeper than just the same old thing you've done every year of your life. Look deeper into the things that you want in your life that you want to have, and that it's there for you to take and to have and to be, and be willing to show up for that, to see what's there. That's the greatest investment, not Bitcoin, not the stock market, not all these other things. It's the investment in yourself and your values and the relationships and the things that you desire greatly, that you are not wasting this time, as everything is coming online except Uranus, which by the time at the beginning of this year when Uranus comes direct is the domino effect. Everything just starts to all come into the greatest world ever in your life, or you didn't do the work and it's going to feel like there's missing pieces in the puzzle. There's missing chords. There's missing this. And you wasted all that time because you wanted to just, one, follow a belief system of how you should be living. Two, follow the whole idea that it's just a time to just kind of be like, well, who knows? Let me just see what's next. It's time to have that third eye, that horse, that eye of a horse on, which we're about to show you in the lunar eclipse chart. But when we get to Sunday, this is what really gets me right before this eclipse. So here's the sun at 8 degrees, and we see the moon enter into Gemini. So that full moon starting on Sunday. And we've got now Neptune direct. Mercury with Jupiter fast, okay? So if we actually look at Saturday, Mercury 23, when Neptune comes direct, or sorry, Mercury at 25 with Jupiter. Like it's a positive moment where you can see everything or not, and whether or not you're going to do something about it and make a change. We see Mercury finish there and start getting ready for its sextile to Saturn. It's like, start to make the plans. Start to, if you're going to receive what you want, and Gemini moon is definitely going to stimulate us now. We're going to be immutable energy. It's going to be like, whoa. And this is on a Sunday, where most people are. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're traveling on a Sunday, I would definitely be like, whoa, let me make sure I understand everything. They just changed LAX rules 24 hours before Wednesday, tonight, where everybody that flies in LAX has to sign papers and like be followed around for 14 days. So, you know, just know that the travel industry, and especially when you're dealing with Gemini and Sag, this thing gets crazy and weird, and a lunar eclipse here. So just prepare yourself. But I think the biggest deal is Venus at 10 degrees. Because, yes, Mercury went retrograde at 11, but it was Venus 2 years ago when it was in its retrograde zone and it came direct. It went retrograde at 10 degrees of Scorpio. And there's something to me that signifies that because of the fact that Mercury went through here and it's done, and there's something to the effect that we've got also this Juno here at 23 degrees. So we got Venus, you know, coming into a new zone of the decans, but we have Juno and Pluto in sextile. This is where, you know, when it comes to the idea of understanding the kind of, whether it's, you can use Juno for love partnerships, but you can use it in a lot of ways of just the relatability of what you want to relate with in your life. And I would say that this is where you have to go, where are your responsibilities that you're not willing to change to get what you want? Like how do you set up your life? Do you just set up your life in a way that you don't get what you really want? Like, you've got to find that you have to partner with a life and a responsibility that's all in to get what you want. So Juno has to find a partner like Zeus that she married, right? That's going to give her to become the goddess of the gods, or the goddesses of all the goddesses, and the gods. But, right? He could deliver that for her. She was willing to take that fully on 100%. But if you're going to play this whole game of like, I don't know what I'm doing, and again, the whole I don't know, that's okay. But playing the I don't know and I'm not going to be curious and figure it out and do something about it is the most detrimental aspect of your life this week. As the world is going to flip, as I like to say, the lid off the shit. The lid is flipping off the shit. It's going to be wild. Like, wah! And if we look at the essential dignities here, right, that moon, it's at -5. It's hard because it's coming into an eclipse with the North Node. Remember, the moon and the North Node don't like each other. Rahu and the moon, it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to make a shift in your environment and to do the stimulating thing and to stay and realize that it's in your environment. It's not some long, far away place out there. This is not a time to keep focusing on long distance travel and going all these big long places and searching and searching and searching. You already have all the data and the information that you know from the divine source. Because when we come to that lunar eclipse Monday, boom, this is it right here. So I'm going to right now just put in black here the stars that represent Aldebaran. Well, that's supposed to be a D, but don't trust me. I know I have a big D when I write. Oh yeah, and sorry. Okay. So here we are on these stars that I said, and 8 degrees. What is this making aspect-wise? Sessi-quadrate to Jupiter-Pluto. It's exact with Pluto, within a degree. If it was at 7, it would be exact. Or actually, wait, 8 to 3, that's 5, yeah. So no, that's it, 135, yeah. So That's interesting. Moon, sextile, Chiron. Look at this. I mean, this is just based off where I'm at in Huntington Beach, but the part of Spirit, the part of Fortune meet with Chiron. It's freaking nuts. On the Descendant. What else do we got here? You know, I'll kind of erase here so you could see. But you don't really see much more except the major opposition. And you don't see much anywhere else. You do see these squares to Neptune, right? With the nodes. And so this is a point. The moon rules Cancer, right? It's your emotional personal life that needs to be stimulating and excited. We just saw it past Uranus. Uranus and Venus just met, and there's Venus coming to 11 where Mercury went retrograde. Here's Mercury sextile Saturn. This is an amazing lunar eclipse to change your life and make it exciting again, to see the world change again and to see the truth and to connect with the eye of Horus, which is the ultimate all-seeing eye. And it's the bull's eye, right? So that's the whole idea of Taurus and what it represents in the Pleiades and especially in the sidereal part of it. It's the bull's eye, right? And I think that this is very important for people to note that this is Archangel Michael bringing its truth. And this Gemini energy is shifting now that we're in the second decan now with the North Node. And the South Node, second decan is Sag. And with the Sun at 8 degrees, and it's all about Chiron. Let's not laugh at ourselves anymore for doing things that we're holding on, things that we don't want. Let's heal ourselves from taking on the identities and the things in life that we really want to have in our life. And let's stimulate our mind. Let's look at the truth. We are awake with Neptune direct. And we might have to go through things where we're like, oh, that wasn't true. But the things that have synchronicity that are just overwhelmingly, it's going to feel like, oh, wow. This is Disney. This is magic. And if you don't feel that through this transit, then you have to ask yourself, why not? Were you not looking at the signs? Were you denying the signs? Or were you just blocked to make the integration of Venus and to bring it in? To know how to attract it in too, by willing to know the confidence that you certify yourself with value, that you deserve to bring in that great thing into your life. Or do you keep holding what you feel that you don't deserve to have, or that you feel that you deserve to have from a victim point of view? That's a whole other way to look at it. Rabbit, the last day here, December 1st of 2020, and we are now in eclipse season. So we got 4 weeks here of eclipse season, okay? And it's quite the way to start the eclipse season. We are 1 degree away from Jupiter coming out of shadow. Jupiter went retrograde at 27 degrees, if you don't remember, in Capricorn. We're about to see the big expansion of our lives here, with Mercury finishing in Scorpio and moving into Sagittarius right after this eclipse. We start December with having to really create new stories and let old stories go and really come into stories that bring our truth. The moon will pass the North Node and it will feel like, yeah, it might be uncomfortable because this is new emotions, but it also might be every emotional desire that's stimulating to you and in the environment that you've always wanted, because you have done it. And this full moon lasts even into Tuesday, even though it's not eclipsing in the apex anymore, but it is an eclipse and it is a resonant of that energy. And the moon will also square Neptune, right? And with the sun now entering 10 degrees, it's technically on Antares. So this is a powerful news story that could be a big, great, badass one, especially as Jupiter's getting ready to come direct, especially Mercury-Jupiter met, Mercury-Saturn met. So this eclipse is just totally about your mind, totally about your environment, totally about your awakeness, and totally about integration of better things in your life by certifying the greatness of who you are. And that is what must happen in your life. Also, it is also happening. Look at this. I didn't even show you this part here. This is pretty fucking crazy, actually. Fucking how fast it's moving too. But if you notice on the moment of the eclipse, this is the eclipse, we see Black Moon Lilith here in Taurus at 4 degrees, okay? Well, that moves from Aries to Taurus. So it's like, it is about understanding that you need to realize that inside of yourself that you are a badass, that you are the edgy because you know your value. And guess what? When we reach this December 1st on Tuesday, we see Black Moon Lilith cross over Uranus. This is definitely going to be a wild eclipse. Of wild great or wild feeling like you don't have shit because you chose not to show up, not to certify yourself. Mars reaches 17 degrees. It is off 15. It is starting to move. If we look at this last day, but the first day of the new month, we actually look at Mars still at a +5. We still see Saturn at a +7, but that Venus is still detriment. There's that Mercury at the end of Scorpio having to rise to the Phoenix, right? Sun's in fire sign. We're in fire. Let's not forget we're in fire. And this is the fire, and with Mars here, Mars is in fire. The Sun and Mars are the two masculine, determined identifiers. Those are the only two in the zodiac, the Sun and Mars, Aries and Leo. Why? Because Aries and Leo are the powerful placements for the Sun. Nothing else is. Leo is the dignified space and Aries is the exalted space. And that is true identification. And so when you get the planets that represent that in fire signs, this is where you must identify your power and you must not waste this time. If you fall for the trap, that's what Neptune is too. It'll trap you into a way of a movie that's telling you to just live in this and you're going to see nothing but Christmas holidays, but do it from home. I bet you we're going to see the weirdest Christmas commercials of all time. Send a gift, but don't see the person. While you're sitting at home alone, not doing anything with your life, but staring at the wall, do this. Oh, here, this is Capricorn. It's opposite in Cancer. This is not a time to be like, I'm just going to just chill out. No, not with the Sun in Sag, not with Mars and Aries, not with Black Moon Lilith on Uranus. You will get your ass handed to you, or you will get everything your ass ever wanted. And it's very black and white with Venus and Scorpio. It's very much new stories with South Node Sag Sun. Old stories that you want to keep playing are over. And when you mix that with the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn, while Jupiter is just about to come out of its shadow. So if you look at Jupiter right now, look at it. It's moving fast. It's moving 11 minutes a day. Woo! It's about to start getting much faster than that. Jupiter out of nowhere, just out of nowhere. It's such a big, energy. It's like Bowser in Mario Kart. It starts up a little slow. I always play Bowser, but when it gets its speed, don't fuck with it. It's like, and he slides better than everybody else. Don't even try and tell me Yoshi slides good. So Uranus stopped, but not there yet. We got a whole month still plus. And that's the domino pieces coming together as you integrate the great value that you certify in yourself, that you know is the power from within you. Mercury coming into Sag, it's detriment. So I don't have that on the chart here, but Mercury will come into a detrimental element. That's why Mercury has a tough time at the end of Scorpio and into Sag. It has to go through the rising of the Phoenix, and then it has to go into a fucking open landscape with horses and centaurs running around that are aiming and yelling, I don't oh, well, maybe that looks fun. Let's go to Bali. No, let's go to India. No, we're going here today. No, I don't know. And Mercury's like, I just rise to the Phoenix and got all this truth, and I have to go into like where nobody knows shit and everybody's aiming and nobody knows what the fuck they want, and especially the North Node in Gemini. While we're having eclipses, and the lunar eclipses in Gemini, and the full moons in Gemini, oh, Mercury's going to be like freaking the fuck out if you just went into the nothingness and the I don't knows and the I'm just playing this to just kind of go whatever. And Saturn's there going, I'm at the end and I'm going to hammer things down and certify those that certify themselves and that are on the ship. Remember I said this is the era of providence. This is going to feel prophetic. This is providence. This is the promised land that this moon is covering in the personal signs of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, and finishing in its home sign of Cancer on Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. I cannot tell you that we are not getting, this is one of the greatest weeks of your life when it looks like the worst in the world. That's how the universe works. It's the illusion of falsehood, of fear and scary elements, and that things aren't going to go the way that you want. You must create it in your own life now. Because 9 days from December, once we get to, right, with the sun and the South Node meeting, right? At that point, that's a release point. You can release yourself into the story you don't want anymore, or you can just continue to have that story because you're not willing to make a change. You're not willing to let go of that story and build the new story. This is where new stories come real and bad stories stay the same depending on what you've done with this Venus opposed Uranus transit, what you're doing with your mind, and going into the more adventure of excitement and knowing what you want, opposed to coming into this place and being like, let me keep searching. No, let me keep experiencing a new story. Let me stop reading an old story that I don't want to be in anymore. And let me certify myself. And let me follow the wild card in my life. Let me follow the synchronistic value. That's the most valuable part of spirit itself, is synchronicity. That's the signs that you are in your true divine form and that spirit is with you. And if you're going to let this moon go through these Pleiades and oppose, I'm going to just say it, the reptilian energy, and you're going to do the reptilian thing and just sit around and just fucking mask all the problems away and not be inspirational to the light and show up for the light and do the light and encourage others and encourage yourself and integrate the things that you want in your life and go for it and just sit around, I don't know what to tell you, but you're going to be getting eaten by reptilians in the fourth dimension. Last chart. You know I bring the Helio. And this week, and I did this Helio, I'm doing one chart because I can just do it in my head for you all. But this is, remember, the sun at the center of the chart, okay? And so I'm going to erase that real quick just so you can see. We have, on the eclipse, Venus moving into Libra, okay? This has everything to do about restoring the balance in our life. And aligning with the people and that really align in our truth. It's Mercury entering Scorpio. That's 4 degrees a day. It's leaving Libra. So there's something to say about the buildup of this weekend with Venus finishing in Virgo, Mercury finishing up in Libra. We also are really at an interesting point where Jupiter is breaking off Saturn now within 2 degrees. We see it at 3 at the beginning of the week, and we start to see Jupiter breaking apart. But we start to see that Jupiter's about to help Chiron out, which Jupiter is the one that gives Chiron the award to be the centaur that becomes the centaur of all the centaurs. We see for the first times in our lives since the 1800s, Neptune in the 1850s, Neptune at 20 degrees. Remember, there's no retrogrades. We are at the third decan of Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, all happening on this eclipse. This is a Mars-ruled energy of the last decan. This is where the Civil War happened, the build-up to it. And I know we feel those energies, but we don't need to go into those energies, because if we all certify ourselves of what we know is divine and the best for humanity, and if we can all find a way to all find that truth within ourselves, this might just be that great awakening that has been talked about all time. And that's that test that you have to show up to it. This is not a weekend of a vacation, because the vacation is the ultimate vacation of your life into the ultimate truth and happiness of the new story that you create and the new things that you're willing to get out of story-wise and the new integration into things that you want to have beauty and grace and bring into your life. And the gratefulness of that this story's over and this new one's beginning, but listening to the truth, seeing the synchronicities and following them and being direct into them and not sitting in stagnation. I love you all very much. I appreciate everything. And also, on Monday, of course, there's Earth with Antares. Archangel Michael is with us, even coming into that Tuesday at 9 and 10 into Wednesday. So let's not forget about that. This is our one moment with that energy. Think about your life and what darkness you want to keep at bay and out of your life, and what light you want to have in your life. And the responsibility is the number one test with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in Capricorn. I love you all. Please have a wonderful holiday. Spread the message out as much as you can. That 20% discount for all of highvibe.tv's subscriptions, paid videos, schools, and so forth is Holiday 2020. We're doing it to the end of Monday, so basically into Tuesday morning. I love you all very much. Everybody at High Vibe sends their best to you, and I just want to let you know that I believe in all of you, anybody that is in this field. I know we all have the most greatest powers within us. It's time to really show the divine. It's time to show God that we're going to do the greatness that God sees in us by being the greatness that we are. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next report.